their district. You understand? So I want to see if they're going to do that for the men. Here's an opportunity for all those that were there, Muslims, Christians, AME, CME, not you and me because I wasn't there, Baptists and all others, and then just street organizations, because many of them put their credibility or their street cred on the line to kind of co-sign for the mayor and the elected officials to do this march with them yesterday. Now the question will be, will the mayor and those elected officials put their sweet cred, SUIT, on the line when it comes to the white developers and the white businessmen to say that we want these opportunities when it comes to jobs, businesses, and contracts in the city of Baltimore? So thoughts and comments on whether anybody talked about there's going to be a 300-man march based on, again, doctors and healthcare providers to address the needs in our community. Because if you walk many these streets and go into many of these homes in the city of Baltimore, they've been reduced back to probably the 1930s and 1950s as far as the housing codes and the standards of living right now, where people got bathrooms in their living rooms, or bathrooms when you come to the front door because the plumbing is so faulty. And many of these row homes in the city of Baltimore that the city has allowed to, again, go down. City departments and agencies has allowed to go down, and they haven't been addressed. And unfortunately, our people have adjusted to the injustices and are now living the way they're living in many of these homes. And again, in third world countries such as Cuba, third world countries such as Libya, they have doctors to take care of the children and the needs of their families. Thoughts and comments on seeing that kind of action from the city, brother?
Mm-hmm. And that's what should come next. If this is the spark, okay, let's consider that this event in itself, in its essence, was good because of the emotion that I saw on the faces of all of the men, the women, and the children. The little young brother, who came up with his mom and came, up next to us where we were walking, and his mom was pressing him on, saying, "Go ahead and march with them." And he walked with us for a couple of blocks. That's what it's about. And that emotion needs to carry on today. And so today we are saying that, let's organize. Then after the mobilization took place yesterday, we organize and have the 300 doctors because we know what the problems are. Now, here's the issue. I said to myself, Brother Darren.
Yes, sir.
What would happen if we made a turn off of Northern Parkway? Off
the North Avenue and go into actually one of the communities. Was that what I hear you saying?
If we made a turn,
right.
See, but we couldn't make a turn because there was a police officer at every corner. There was a squad car that was there.
So you call it kind of control. What do you call it? Controlled what?
It was a controlled demonstration.
Controlled demonstration, like they had controlled demolitions. This was a controlled demonstration.
It's a controlled demonstration because because there were folks on the street that were kind of out there.
They wanted to observe, as they do. Because did they have a marching band? I thought I heard some drums and some bands. Did they have a marching band as well?
Some people brought percussions.
Okay, yes, sir. Right. Okay, just asking. Right.
And so a couple of guys would say, "Yeah, man, y'all are passing by, so what's next?
What's next, right?
What are we going to do?"
Yes, sir.
And, the best that we could say is, "Here, come with us."
That was it?
And those who came with us, once we got to the end.
So when you got to the end, what occurred?
Okay, well, we got there, of course, right there at the Baltimore Cemetery.
Cemetery. Okay. Yes, sir.
Perhaps, maybe another place to end.
Right.
But so once we got to the end, there was some mention of the housing and the need for investing in the housing, putting up $5,000 to buy a home.
Yeah, well, go ahead. I got to respond to that because you got organizations. When I talk about organizations that are getting dollar homes, you got big fat corporations such as the Bank of America that got dollar homes up in the Marble Hill, Druid Heights, McCullough corridor a few years ago when Stephanie Rawlins was on the Board of Estimates as the Vice President of the City Council. And she voted along with Sheila Dixon and Martin O'Malley to give 280 homes to a subsidiary which was set up by the Bank of America with collusion of Jackie Cornish. So we know that they sold Elmer Henderson Elementary School to John Hopkins for $1. So the city got dollar homes. The question is, who do we have them for? You understand? So I would think that these organizations that, again, co-signing for the mayor, co-signing for Brandon Scott, co-signing for Nick Mosby, would say, if I'm going to put my street cred on the line, because them brothers out there watching you are saying, wait a minute, you brothers were the ones on outside the box. Now it looks like you getting in the box. You were the ones telling us that you don't believe in the politics and the politics of the city, but now it looks as if you are co-signing for them. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to put your reputation out there, make them put their reputation out there in terms of those elected officials. But please continue. So afterwards, they end there at North and Milton, but what comes from that?
And then the walk back.
So just the walk back?
The walk back on the other side of North Avenue.
Yes, sir.
And then at that point, many, and myself included, kind of, ended there,
dispersed from there?
Dispersed from there.
Yes, sir.
But there was a group that, did make it back to the top.
Okay. So it's a 20-mile walk in a sense. Those that walk 10 miles east and then 10 miles back west.
Sure. Well,
yes, sir.
About 5 each way.
Okay,
though.
a 5K. Well, I'm just going to say a 5K, no pun intended, or a 10K, no pun intended.
So we're looking today to find out exactly what we're going to do now. And Brother Darren, you have laid out a nice platform to work with.
Yes,
now,
sir.
See, Brother Munir, we cannot work alone.
Right.
So if he was able to put this together, then this is here. And if everyone's saying now, what are you going to do now?
Right.
I would say let's send some emails to a New American African
Committee
at gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
And we can begin this conversation to figure out exactly what we are going to do.
Yes, sir.
And what the plan of action should be, because there should be a 300 doctors march.
Sure.
There should
Social
be
workers,
social workers,
dentists.
And I even
you know what I mean?
yeah,
because this is what we saw in the '60s from the Panther Party, forcing the health department and those who are responsible for the issues of health in the communities to test our children, not once they got to school for lead, but testing them at 1 and 2 years old for high levels of lead. And that's still a serious issue when we're looking at the issues of lead in the schools in Baltimore City Public Schools, which still a serious issue of lead in homes in Baltimore City when they're not addressing that and they're bringing in Hispanics and all others. And I know the city can do it because, as I shared with you off air, I was doing some work and had to go into the Marriott Hotel. And you have the princess from the United Arab Emirates who's here, who had surgery. Her husband is the prince who donated all the money to Johns Hopkins to build that new wing of Johns Hopkins, Zayed wing, named after the Zayed, right? So here's a Muslim from the East that donated all of this money. His wife comes over to have surgery, and she has the top floors at the Marriott Hotel from the 28th floor all the way up to the 33rd floor. If you just drive down there, to some of you Muslims that want to see, again, how the mayor treats some of you like you in exile, but treats them like they're in express aisle in terms of whatever it is that family needs and her whole entourage. They got state police securing them, city police securing them, and police that you don't see securing them. But the sky is the limit over there at Harbor East. And if you don't believe me, just take a trip. Perhaps we could have a 300-man march to Harbor East. Okay. You understand? Sure. Maybe we should march so you can show people what justice looks like is what I'm saying. That's right. You understand? If you want to know what justice is, you got to show people what justice is and love is. And Harbor East, every community in Baltimore City should look like Harbor East. If that's the standard, if they got Harbor East, we shouldn't be Harbor East, since the money that they have used have come from community development block grants and have come from TIFs and pilots to make Harbor East look the way Harbor East looks like, right?
That's correct.
All communities should look like Harbor East is what we're saying. That's correct. Right? We should have the supermarkets. We should have the businesses flowing. We should have fresh water, fresh everything if this is the standard of Baltimore City.
That's correct.
Right? And if the mayor's going to be fair, and she spends enough time over there at Harbor East in terms of at the Four Seasons hotels, then can we have some black hotels uptown so that if I was looking down in Harbor East this weekend, they have the conference going on of the Church of God in Christ, the COGIC going on right now. They're in the same hotel where the princess is. So if our black churches and black organizations are going to come to Baltimore, shouldn't we have some black hotels where they can stay? Shouldn't that money circulate back into the black community?
And the jobs as well that come with that and all of the opportunities. I was just saying, we have the capability and the ability to use our imaginations and our ingenuity and our creativity.
That's right.
We're here and we have been trying this. We've been doing this. We have been building since the 20s. And then what happened in the 60s? All of the marches for jobs and justice. Jobs and justice. Right. Okay, we're marching. And I think that the march is effective in terms of how it's being viewed by the community.
Yes.
Those who were standing on the steps who decided to join in, that was a good thing.
Right.
But after that.
That's right.
After that, if we had taken a turn and said, we're going to go down to Holiday Street, if we had taken a turn and said, let's walk down the Harbor, let's go any of the other directions. When we got to the Howard Street Bridge there, if we had walked over into the Micah area.
That's right, the Micah area. Yes, sir. The entertainment area, where we seem to be being cut out of the entertainment and arts district right now. That's the issue I have, is that that it should be a march for us and not a march on our community. You understand?
Right. That's right.
That's what should happen. So
we're going to make sure that they come. Okay, one of the commitments of the American African Committee and those friends and family and those people who I know who are talking about what's going to happen, what are we going to do? Well, it's coming.
Yes, sir.
It's coming because it's necessary. And the last point that I would like to make is we have to see that if an organization is being controlled and guided, it is kind of missing the essence of what it was supposed to be in its outset.
Yeah, not just the organization, but the movement. If your movement is being controlled, you understand?
Right. Then
it ceases being what it should be. Right. Yes, sir. Based on the emotions and commotions of our people when they should be seeing some devotion coming from downtown as well as uptown in the community. So let's go to this clip. I think this is courtesy of WJZ TV talking about the march yesterday in the city of Baltimore, and 2 more were killed in Baltimore as the march or prior to the march taking place. And the question we're asking is, what comes next? What's now? And we should have the ability to ask that and not have those say we're being cynical, but we're trying to be ecumenical and, of course, to show that there's much more that we have to do. But you can get in on the conversation, 410-761-1592. Get in where you fit in and fit in where you get in. If you're one of the brothers that attended the march and you want to share your thoughts, comments, and even those who are organizers to ask what comes next now. But I'll be curious to see if Glenn Middleton, as the head of the union, is talking about fighting more for his union members, fighting to get more brothers jobs in the city of Baltimore, fighting to make sure that they have the proper health care and livable wages that they should have. I'd be curious to see if Councilman Jack Young, who talks about 51% of the contractors should be hiring 51% of the citizens in the city. Well, here's his opportunity Wednesday at this hearing that Councilman Stokes is having regarding Harbor Point, which wants to receive $107 million TIF, $7 million tax break by using the names, the addresses, the social security numbers of the citizens that live in Perkins homes, you understand, to get this kind of tax break. I want to see if we're going to march into Perkins homes and say, we with you, brothers. We want to make sure that every able-bodied man, whether they got a record or not, because the mayor used Delegate Robinson to introduce legislation to say that if you had a record, you could still own a casino in the city of Baltimore. We call that the Dan, what did I tell you that little guy named that owns Quicken Loans? Dan Gilbert?
Yes.
That's the Dan Gilbert bill right there that she introduced to look out for Dan Gilbert and those Jewish swindlers that come from Detroit, that's tied to the Jewish mob out of Detroit. But she can look out for them. Now the question is, she can look out for Man, Riri, Nene, and them that may have a record and they want to be able to work at the casinos, you know what I mean? Or work some other job in the city of Baltimore. So Wednesday is the test. He said you got to have a stress test after you just had the march. Now here's your stress test, brothers. Here's your stress test to get every able-bodied man in writing a job that lives down in Perkins Homes. That's a small task for a mayor that says she loves her town. That's a small task for the mayor that says that we want to see black men working. She can't. What's that she said last night? She can't do it all by herself. Was that what she said?
Well, the quote from Whitney Houston.
Yeah, you got to get close to that mic.
Oh, sure. The Whitney Houston the quote. I may come home,
right,
but when I get home, I can't do it. We
can't do it all alone.
All alone by ourselves.
All right.
Well,
we're gonna help. See if we can hold. Let's see if we can help her make her word bond. For those of you that was there, let me play this clip. Then we come into the line. 410-761-1592. This is courtesy, I believe, of WJZ. Megan McCorkle talking about the march in the city of Baltimore yesterday, and now looking at where do we go from here. So you can get in on the conversation if you like. 410-761-1592. And you can get in on this conversation. Let me go to this clip, and then we'll come to the line to take your calls. 410-761-1592. Let me come to the line, and then we'll come back in and play the clip. You can get in on the conversation. 410-761-1592 again, and we'll come to the line and take your calls. See if we can get this clear. Good afternoon, caller. You are on the State of the City.
Yeah, how you doing, Darren?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
All right, pretty good.
Thoughts and comments? Were you
I
there?
want to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I want to comment to Mr. Rogers, who's there. Mr. Rogers, we're not criticizing, your march, okay? But when you have the enemies, okay, in front of your march, you have to understand who your enemies are.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in situations where Mr. Muhammad has brought people together to march on several issues. And his marches didn't have to be validated by whether the mayor, the city council people, or them was out in front of it.
Right.
It was out in front by the sincere people.
Yes.